Standing outside the magistrate court, Satish murmured, "How ridiculous! For a trivial matter she has gone too far." His friend Prasant heard it and replied instantly, "Don't be instigated. She has done it after considering the implications substantially." Apparently the answer angered Satish. He looked angrily at him, but Prasant didn't show any signs of irritation. It still appeared to Satish that Rimi could take such a drastic step for a trivial argument. Rimi and Satish are wife and husband. They were married 6 years ago. There could be few children of this couple, but at Rimi's insistence, Satish submitted to her wish of not having children immediately. She had told him on the first day, "I have a dream, and I want your support and cooperation to realize that. Won't you do that?" Satish couldn't refuse such a polite and loving request, he conceded. Satish's family was a lower middle-class family. Due to poverty, he could pursue higher studies. He needed to support his family financially. A man with little literacy could do nothing more than to be a migrant worker. Satish was an international migrant worker. He was working in Qatar. It still appeared completely unbelievable to Satish how the person for whom has done everything to ensure her comfort, to give her freedom, to provide her everything she needed could accuse him of mistreatment. He thought, "I am illiterate, possibly that's why she doesn't want to continue this relationship with me. But she could have told me." A deep turmoil in his mind started brewing. 9 days ago he had an argument with Rimi over her obsession with TV serials, as she was not talking to him attentively and was in a haste to terminate the call. That was why he just rebuffed her, but this was a normal matter. In a family such occurrences are common and natural. But she had lodged an FIR against him, charging him with domestic violence and derogatory language against Rimi. Satish couldn't understand the meaning of those difficult and complicated legal terms. He only understood that he would be detained by the police. In his life, he never did anything that could bring before the court. His simple and diligent personality was one of reasons why Rimi's family agreed to their relationship despite the fact of his being illiterate. Satish had never thought of this type of accusation by a person for whom he sacrificed everything. Rimi wanted to continue her study, he agreed. He even financially helped her all the time. He didn't take a single penny as dowry. He had thought getting her was a reward for him. He was happy. Emotionally strong was Satish, but this time that appeared uncontrollable. He was not ready to be broken down at the court. Despite his attempt to hide his tears from others, some close observers witnessed this. His inner turbulence raised questions even about the meaning of his existence. He had never suffered such humiliation from people he loved. His emotions were getting deep and he could barely manage to hide this from others. Suddenly his eyes fell on a woman, walking straight, wearing a yellowish silk sari. She was still the same gorgeous in his eyes as she had been during her going to college. He had never hoped for this kind of meeting. He had woven a lot of spectacular dreams during his stay in Qatar. He had hoped that he would go home without informing Rimi to give her a surprise. They would spend quality time outside. They would have their dinner outside at a fancy restaurant which Rimi frequently asked him for. But now the circumstances were completely different. After that phony argument, Rimi didn't call him even a single time. He tried to contact her, but she didn't pick up the call. He had thought that she was quite upset at being rebuffed for her obsession, but he was speechless and shocked when he had been informed by his friend Prashant about this. He even hadn't believed Prashant that time, but his illusion soon faded away when he received a call from a police inspector. The inspector even threatened him if he didn't arrive at court on the scheduled date. After arrival, he had gone home, but he didn't find Rimi there. He asked his parents about her, but they said nothing. Yes, Rimi was the first girl whom Satish liked. Their first meeting came in a quite unusual way. That day Satish was working in the field. He needed to finish transplanting paddy. Suddenly he heard a loud noise. He exclaimed, "Tube burst." While he was trying to see the victim, he saw a young, slender girl draped in school uniform standing in astonishment. Satish was laughing at first, but the look of 2 angry eyes forced him to stop. That place was quite secluded with one or two people walking at a distance. The schoolgirl could get immediate assistance only from this farmer. She was reluctant to ask him. It was an unfortunate incident as she had her exam on this day and she needed to reach school at any cost. It was impossible for her to fix the tube and tier of her cycle. Left with no other alternative, she said, but quite assertively, "Stop laughing and fix it. I need to go to school now." Sadish would have helped her, but this assertive order angered him. He also replied haughtily, "Shut up, you nonsense girl, don't you know how to talk to others?" Rimi looked at him angrily. She was quite surprised too, as she had heard about Sadish as a very simple and innocent person who would never behave rudely with anyone. Rimi understood well Sadish would not help her until she said him quite politely. She did that. She requested Sadish. Sadish didn't take much time, only gave her a tempered look and started fixing the puncture. Once the cycle was repaired, Rimi rode it away without saying anything to Sadish. Sadish comprehended her haste, so he didn't mind. 2 days later in the evening, while Sadish was playing cricket with some village children, Rimi suddenly appeared in front of him. She told him, "Do you know who I am? On that day you talked to me rudely." Sadish was shocked. He stammered, I didn't do anything." He became quite nervous. Rimi looked at him seriously, and after observing his nervous, timid face, she couldn't hold her laughter anymore. She burst out laughing. Looking at her laugh, Sadish regained his consciousness and felt quite ashamed. Actually, Rimi admired this diligent, hard-working person. She gathered information about him. She liked him, especially his innocent and hardworking personality. From that day onwards, their meetings occurred more frequently. It was not a fact that Sadish didn't like her, but he couldn't dare to say that to her if she got angry. One day Rimi came to his house and directly told him to send a proposal to her father's house for her. How it happened, Sadish didn't know, but her family accepted and both of them got married the following month. Okay, let's come back to present. Sadish looked at her quite admiringly. During that time he forgot about her misdeeds. Her rosy lips with little lipstick were splendidly marvelous. That yellowish sari added more charm to her beauty. She looked stunning. She didn't look at Sadish. Sadish decided in his mind, whatever she wants, I'll give her. If she gets pleasure in sending me to jail, I'll accept. The only thing I want is to see her as the winner. A few minutes later, one policeman called Sadish inside the courtroom. Prashant was instructing Sadish about different laws and legal procedures on how to prove himself innocent, but Sadish was completely inattentive and callous. Prashant understood his psychology well. He followed him inside, but before entering the courtroom they were stopped. One could easily understand if it looked at Sadish's face that he was a statue of flesh and blood. He was out of his consciousness. Those beady eyes were looking at the horizon hopelessly. The woven dreams were washed away. He was out of his consciousness. He was ready to accept everything that would be bestowed upon him by his destiny, because he was hurt the most by the one whom he loved the most. Though he was not ready to tag her as a betrayer, he would never do that. He heard something unusual, a very known laughter, a melodious laugh that had once captivated Sadish. He looked at his surroundings with an unknown expectation. He saw she came, her jubilant face looked at him gracefully, and her eyes instructed him to take the scissors and to cut the ribbon. But Sadish was completely oblivious to such instructions. He felt it as a beautiful dream. Obviously, Rimi understood his situation. She pinched him. He regained his consciousness and did everything she instructed, but without looking at the work he was doing. His eyes were fixed at her smiley face. Yes, it was the face he had expected to see upon his arrival. She said, "Mr. Sadish, I'm a judge now." She introduced him to the crowd as her husband. This whole scenario appeared completely unbelievable to Sadish. He couldn't believe that Rimi had planned this surprise for him. At a sudden instant, Sadish's melancholy transformed into a happy and prosperous dream for the future. He forgot about the crowd and started weeping like a young baby. Rimi knew that this innocent face wouldn't be able to digest that. She embraced him tightly. The two souls forgot about their periphery. Rimi consoled him. Rimi kept Sadish in front of her eyes the entire time until her office hours ended. Sadish couldn't understand how she delivered judgment, but he was the proudest husband. In the evening they reached home early and fell asleep soon. But Remy didn't sleep, for she had got the jewel of earth that she was not ready to lose. It was Remy at whose insistence her father agreed to their marriage. She looked at his sleeping face. He touched it softly and thought how this face sacrificed his comfort and pleasure for her dream. Some drops of water rolled down her cheeks. She prepared a lot of delicious dishes for dinner. She prepared several types of dessert for him. Sadish liked sweet desserts. At the dinner table, Sadish got completely overwhelmed looking at the dishes. He did one courageous act today. He kissed her. Yes, it was their first kiss. After that he felt very shy, but Remy appeared very normal, like nothing had happened. After dinner, still at the dinner table, Sadish in a low tone asked, "What will I do here? I think it will be better if I go back to my work. It's the time to earn money and save for our future." Remy looked at him seriously and said, "If you go to work, then who will look after our baby?" Sadish looked at her surprisingly, but he understood what she intended to say. Yes, he would not leave any of her dreams unfulfilled. "Okay guys, we should stop now. Let them produce their baby." Smiling face with smiling eyes.